Welcome to the Cracking the Growth Code podcast. I'm your host, Matt Zimbrowski. Pleased to have as my guest today, Sumit Kansal, product director at Demandbase, who's worked in the B2B go-to-market space for over a decade now and has brought multiple data products to the market in that space. Sumit, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Matt. I appreciate you for having me.
I'm excited to hop right into the discussion too. There's so many good, you and I had the opportunity to meet briefly earlier. So we talked about a few different aspects and things that you've learned from your experience. So for the audience out there, our audience is current and future leaders with a lot of agile teams, delivery teams, oftentimes in the tech space, sometimes in other industries, education, government, all across the board. But current and future leaders such as yourself, some have come up through the product side, some have come up through the delivery side, like on Scrum Master side, agile coaching, etc. So describe a little bit about your personal journey of growth yourself and your career that got you to where you are today.
Yeah, of course. See, I started off, in a very different space. In fact, very far away from an agile or an IT or software-driven space. I started off in financial research, with S&P Global, and I think what really got me excited was, how a B2B SaaS product, what goes behind the scenes. So I was contributing to building databases, which are typically used by financial investment firms, and that sort of gave showcased how exactly bigger databases are built, how they're managed at scale, what typically users look at when they use B2B SaaS products like that. And from there onwards, I got more into hardcore product development, life cycle for SaaS or B2B kind of companies, it all started with everything to do with what exactly are the right data points, what exactly are the right data elements which typically sales and marketing users would be interested in. So it was never really from a technology standpoint, it was more about from a user standpoint. Okay, if I'm a typical salesperson or if I'm a marketeer, what makes my life easy? What is it that I want to do? What's the kind of a tool or a product that I would want that can help me save some time on a day-to-day basis? That's exactly what the products that we have built over the period of time are all about. And then when you start getting closer to the users for whom you're building your products, eventually your mindset also starts transforming or going in a direction which takes you into a mode that, yes, this is what is right for our users. This is what makes more sense. This is what brings in the right ROI. This is what is valuable to them, etc. And I think once you have that kind of a mindset, it automatically tells you what needs to be done from an engineering standpoint, from a product standpoint. You don't need to be very, very technical or very, very I would say, textbookish in your approach in that sense. I think if you understand your users well, everything else follows. And that's exactly the, I think what I've been doing or trying to do.
Yeah, I love the being an experienced agile coach and Scrum Master in the world out there the last 10, 15 years. Myself, I love how you have an obsession, I would call it, for customers and for really the end users, who's using the product. And that's all wired into the agile framework and so forth. I'm curious how it could be where you're at today, or it could be a previous experience, but thinking like that with the mindset of like, how is this data going to positively or improve the customer's ability to use the product or improve their business with B2B, et cetera. Thinking about the customer-centric mindset, what's been your experience of getting that customer feedback on a recurring basis or on a frequent basis? I know sometimes that's easier said than done. It's like, oh yeah, let's just survey the customers. But what's your experience in that? Because it's obviously very important to you. I agree, it's super important to a successful company and agile frameworks in general. How would you want to share some tips and tricks about how to engage with the actual customer to make sure you're getting real customer or end user feedback?
I think it's pretty straightforward. Being close to the customer simply means, talking to them as often as possible, trying to make sure that from, X number of hours that you spend building a certain product, a proportion of it always goes into communicating, interacting, understanding what exactly your customers needs. There is no second formula to it. So I try and talk to as many customers as possible, hop onto sales calls, hop onto customer success experience kind of calls. If you're building something new, go to our customers, interview them, understand what exactly they want, what kind of products have they been using, particularly related to the features that we are building, how is their experience, etc. So I think talking to them, and sometimes it's not just going very specific onto that particular topic. A lot of time it's just about understanding how their day-to-day life is, what exactly they like, how they go about things, what is it that makes them happy, what is it that makes their job easier. And I think more and more understanding them as a person, as a human, you also when you start doing that, you also understand them as professionals. You also start understanding them, what exactly they want. So that's the top thing I would say. Apart from that, what's also very important is talk to other people who talk to customers. So that gives you the second level of experience, which means every given company will have customer facing people. It could be your sales reps, it could be your support representatives, customer support representatives, it could be your customer success people, it could be your marketing team. So more and more you talk to these people, more and more feedback, or more and more sneak peek you get into your customers thought process. So that's very important too. So you get a second version, how are they translating customers experiences? Because a lot of time when you hear them first time, not necessarily you will interpret it in the best way, or that's just one way of interpreting it, which is your own understanding. But then you listen to other people as well, how they are interpreting it, that kind of refines your overall thought process, gives you more diversified viewpoints, and also confirms if you are thinking in the right direction or not. So that's a second very, very important area. And third is trying to validate all this information with the actual team that you are working with, who are actually building those products for the customers, which typically is your engineering team, your tech team. Trying to understand from their perspective, okay, what exactly, how do they interpret a particular problem or a requirement or a particular solution? How are they envisioning it as an end user? How it will be used, how it would make their life easier, etc. And if you see synergies in these two thought processes, like whatever the customer is saying and whatever the actual person or the team which is building a product for the customer, how they are actually envisioning it, if there is a closer alignment between the two, if there is a synergy in it, that means you're on the right track. That means we're working on the right problems. But often I see that people who are actually building those products rarely interact with the actual customers who are using them, and there are always commentaries that they hear about. This is what the customers want, this is what they like it, this is what they don't like it. Often there are those perceptions that they think this is the right thing, but those direct conversations do not happen that often the way they should. So it's very important that as a product owner, as a product manager, we bridge that gap between our customers and our engineers, to make sure that they are both aligned and we have synergies between the two. And when that happens, I guess everybody's job becomes easier and we get to the right track.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you I love how you go out and collect the same data from multiple sources. I shouldn't say same data, but you ask the same question to multiple sources. What does the end customer actually think about this? What do they like, dislike about it? And then you talk to people who also work with or connect with the end customer. So that way you're getting multiple perspectives from multiple people. Some are the end customers, some are people in the middle. But then you're collating all that, really doing your own data processing in your human mind and with your team, and then coming up with better solutions that are more appropriate. And I love also that how frequent and open the communication is there. How it's not just we communicate once every few months. No, you're constantly doing it, and that creates a great relationship with trust and communication with the customer. I want to shift gears for a bit. Let's talk about some of the challenges that you've seen in your career, or what you see in the industry today from a product delivery perspective, or product ownership, or product leadership perspective. What do you see as some challenges in the industry today? You just talked about some of the positives that are going on when you get a good relationship with the customer, et cetera, and you build the team right. What are your thoughts about some of the things that you see in the industry today that might be some of the challenges just in the product life cycle or in delivering just high value products to customers?
Yeah. So I think some of the biggest challenges are a communication gap. A lot, many times, what we think is right is actually not right, which means that you know. The way we are interpreting information, the way we are interpreting data is probably not the best way we should be doing it. A lot, many times, it's based on anecdotal experiences, certain examples. The sample size is too small. You've spoken to one person, 2%, or an industry leader, or another product manager, or a competitor, and basis those one or two or three conversations, we interpret or generalize that this is exactly what's going on, and often that leads to bad assessment, and as a result bad delivery as well. If we don't understand what's happening, we often interpret it differently, and when we interpret it differently, we think the requirements are different, and when the requirements are different, you end up making a different solution altogether. So I think that lack of clarity or clear communication is probably the biggest challenge that I see. Second is giving too much impetus or too much importance to just the sheer technology piece itself, which means that every company is saying that AI, ML, artificial intelligence, machine learning are now generative AI. We are backed by this. We are doing this. We are doing that. I think everybody likes to use these fancy words. Everybody likes to introduce themselves or their products in a way that is, most commonly or recognized in the market, and in the process they get themselves into the trap that they were set out to do something else, solve some problems in a different manner, but just to identify with a particular tag, they sort of lose that essence. So while it's important to adopt the latest technology, the latest trends, and be a part of that bandwagon, but it definitely is not the most important thing that you just end up adopting the surface level stuff and not going deeper into how is it actually solving problems, day-to-day problems. I think does not matter whether you are a tech company or you are a manufacturing company or you are in a services space or whatever the case may be, the very essence still doesn't change. Essence is that there is a problem, there is a need, and somebody is looking for some solution or some service, and at the end of the day we have to make people's life easier, right? Whoever is using our products or services, our objective is not to adopt a technology. Our objective is not to promote a particular tag. Our objective is not to force certain tools onto our customers or users. Our objective is to make their lives easier. Now, whatever it does, sometimes it could be a simple communication. Sometimes it could be a very simple reflection of the problems that our users are facing via the products or the tools that we are building. A lot of times, what I've observed is people who are actually using their tools or products, they themselves don't know what their problems are, what their challenges are. They have a rough idea, some kind of an intuition or some kind of an herd behavior, or they think that this is their problem. But when you actually put it right in front of them with all the data, with all that information, right communication, they start connecting with it a lot, a lot better than what they actually do otherwise. And when that connection happens, you automatically become loyal to a product. You start liking it. That affinity develops. So that's very important. A product need not be perfect, but it needs to relate to the right audiences in the best possible manner, and it can always improve. That process is of course iterative. A lot of times we as product owners or product managers, we want to do our best at the first go itself, and in the process of doing that best, we either take a lot of time or we invest ourselves in terms of the brain space too much into it, that we are just not ready to be flexible enough after that, because we have spent that much time, that much energy. We feel that, okay, this is the only solution possible, or this is the best solution in there. Now it becomes very, very difficult during that stage if you want to pivot to something else which you feel that has actually changed in the market, etc. So it's very important to be agile in this sense, that in your approach, in your mindset, mindset. And then when you're agile in your mindset, automatically you'll be agile in your delivery as well. So I think these are some of the challenges that I see most common, which I would say are more human challenges rather than technology challenges. And when you're able to solve this one, everything else falls in place.
I like the way you describe that a lot, Sumit, and how you put that back in, because they are human challenges, right? These are in reality they only exist because the humans are involved, right? We're all involved in doing this, and mindset is so important. The like you mentioned, agile mindset and just the way you approach it is really key. How do you work on your own? You've had a very successful career to this point. You're moving in a good direction here. But for other product owners and product managers and other agile leaders out there, how do you go about and learn new things and grow? I mean, obviously in the workplace, you're interacting with the teams and the customer and everything that you've been sharing. I'm guessing that there are probably some other things that you do as well to continue to continuously improve yourself.
So what I think my job is, it's simply to declutter information, to simplify things for the people that I'm working with, to simplify things for the people that I'm working for. And if I'm able to do that, I think to a large extent, my job is done. And when I say declutter information, what it essentially means is that there's too much data around. Everybody wants something. Like, you will have your internal customers who will tell you that this is working, this is not working, this is what we do not have today, this is what we need to build upon. And then there are external customers who obviously constantly you are talking to them and something is coming up. This is what we want, this is what we don't like, this is what we like. Now, as a product manager, while I have to listen to everybody, embrace that, understand what exactly it means, draw connections, but it's definitely very, very important to also realize I can only do or prioritize 1, 2, 3, 4 items. I cannot take up 100 items in the backlog as a product owner, as a product manager. Or just because one customer is important or one customer is louder than the other one, that does not make it more important than the rest of the customers talking about things. Often, I think what happens is just the way things get communicated to you, you start assuming that those are more important or urgent. Now, very simple, very reasonable, easy example to understand. Like, for example, if an escalation comes through your CEO or your C-level executives, you assume that it's the most important thing, which is, of course, there is an urgency to it. But then it's also important that as a product owner, as an engineering manager, to objectively look at what exactly is required out of it. Does it make sense? Does it relate to the problems of all the users or majority of the users? Is it a one person or one company problem, etc.? And then think through the solution. Does it require an holistic solution? Does it require a banded solution? So that's very, very important when you are looking at information. So decluttering that, making it simple, and taking those decisions. As a product manager, a lot of time we just pass on that information to the right team, to the right individual, not take the right decision, assuming or expecting that, okay, they will take care of it. They have those 100 things and they will prioritize which one needs to be attended first. And after a week, after 2 weeks, after a month, you realize that we are exactly at the same point from where we started at, right? Because nobody knows what needs to be done, which ones to be worked upon faster. Or the other time, the situation is that we work on less important things first, and more important things go to the back burner. Things that take more effort never get picked up. Things that take less effort, thinking of them as low-hanging fruits, high, ROI things, we end up doing them more. And by the end of the year or the end of the quarter, when you end up adding all of those, you realize that you have done a lot of things which take 2 days, 5 days, 1 week effort. But all of that did not really change your customer's life. You did not bring about any innovation. You started from a certain point and you are pretty much hovering around that point itself. So this is where I think as a product owner, as a leader, one needs to introspect constantly that what exactly changes the lives of your customers, and it has to be a good mix. There has to be certain level of innovation change that when you compare what you are offering today versus what you will be offering 2 years down the line, or what you are offering today versus what you were offering 2 years back, there should be a substantial difference in that. And if there is only an incremental difference, there is a little bit of a change in that. That means probably we haven't given ourselves or taken enough challenges as a team, as a company, and we need to do a lot more. So the good mix here is that, take some big ticket items as well, and of course take some small ticket items as well, which improves our customers' lives on a day-to-day basis in short term. But then the long-term vision or approach is very, very important.
Yeah, you shared a lot there, and I want to ask one more question as we wind down the interview related to organizational growth, because it's clear to me, talking with you for a few minutes here, I believe our audience will be clear as well about how well you understand product management, product ownership, and the balance of keeping this long-term vision, this big vision of how you're really going to impact the customer with all the small details of today. And then when new input comes in, you bounce it up against your foundation there, right? To make sure, even though this came from the CEO or a C-level executive, this may or may not be a priority right now. So there's a lot, you just shared a lot there. And when you're hiring someone to come onto your team for your organization, maybe it's in product management, maybe it's another business analyst or systems analyst or any other role that you have on one of your agile delivery teams or one of your product teams. I'm just curious, what are say 3 of the top attributes you're really looking for when you're interviewing somebody to come on board your team, so they can fit in with the culture and lock in with the mindset that you've just shared?
Yeah, I think one would definitely be empathy. With people, with your customers, your employees, your peers. I think that is very, very important, very, very essential. When I say empathy, what it essentially means is that all of these people in your day-to-day professional life play a different role, and you are basically collectively a sum of all of this, right? What your role is, you're engaging with different stakeholders, different people, and if you are able to understand how they are actually impacting your life and in a positive manner, and embrace it, and learn from it, make their lives easier, that just sort of makes things easy for everybody. It could be different things at different level. For example, if I'm an engineer or I'm a product owner, and I'm interacting with a sales representative or a sales manager, and he or she needs my help or my expertise talking to a customer, I should be happy, I should be ready to do that at any given point in time, because my job is just not limited to writing a piece of code or communicating a piece of requirement. My job is also to help my salespeople go and articulate certain things better to the customer or take their questions. Similarly, if I'm a product owner, and I feel that the engineering team which is delivering a certain piece of product is not very clear on the requirements, is not happy with the way things are progressing, I should have that pulse check, at any given point in time, how the team is feeling. Are they connecting well to the requirements or not? Are they connecting well to the larger vision or not? And if I see a disconnect there, I should totally feel it's my responsibility to get them aligned to what that larger vision is. Spend that much time to make sure they understand it, not at a surface level, not in terms of just the delivery part. Okay, this is that delivery due at the end of the release cycle, but also how exactly it changes people's lives. So we have to align those smaller deliveries to the larger vision or the larger goal. So that's very, very important. So and it's not necessary that every leader only has to play that part. Even if I'm like a fresher, first time working in a professional environment, I can still do so many things at every level. So I think that just that thought process, just that approach is very, very important. Number 2, ability to learn, adopt, apply. So a lot of times we'll find ourselves in situations wherein we will not know everything. We will only know few things, and we'll have to keep learning, keep on adopting, keep on experiencing, and as and when we do that, we become better professionals, we become better humans. So it's not just about what we know as professionals, what we have done in the past, but it's a lot more about what we can potentially learn, how much we can adopt and move on and remember. So that's again very, very important thing. And third is I would say flexibility or agility in different ways. So which means that my role could be anything, right? It could be product specific driven, it could be engineering specific, it could be customer facing role, but not being very fixated about it, that I can only do this or I only want to do that. You never know what comes your way through different conversations, or while discharging a particular role. So that openness at any given point in time really takes you places. Like, my role initially in my early days was only in terms of researching and building databases, but then eventually, being open to exactly how is it going into a product, how is it being used by the customers, being open to asking questions, interacting with the development teams, interacting with the customers. That sort of gave me that 360-degree view, and sort of drove me into a certain direction where I always wanted to be, from actually being a delivery guy to being building products or building databases to actually being a product owner. That's how that transition was. But it's very important that one leads to the other. There is no such thing that from day one you do everything, right? So it has to be those incremental building blocks. And I think as long as you're able to do that, and of course the given things which I think which all of us give a lot of importance is your technical skills, is your number of years of experience, the company that you come from. All of these things definitely get you somewhere, and these are important. But the thing is, at any given point in time, X number of CVs or resumes that one is looking at, 7 or 8 out of 10 get filtered out or get qualified based on these criteria. So there is no difference when you're talking to 10 people. These things pretty much remain the same. What differentiates is these other things that I was talking about. So I think these are the 3-4 things that I would give a lot of importance to and value than the other things.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Having also, like yourself, interviewed and hired a lot of people over the years, I often look for the same things. And to put them in a broad category, I'll say soft skills. Yeah. Why it's really important to have the interview. But I love that you stated empathy first. That's absolutely fantastic. And you talked about empathy within your coworkers and colleagues, as well as with the customer. And then the learning and practice. Be hungry to learn, but then apply it. Don't just learn textbook, but apply it. And then be agile, be flexible. Go in hungry to learn, but be comfortable changing and iterating on your own behaviors and your own interactions with others and learning in a different way. So that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Sumit. I know we're up on time. It's been absolutely wonderful to spend some time with you, and I can't wait to share this with our audience. I appreciate you being a guest on our Cracking the Growth Code podcast today. Thank you so much.
Pleasure talking to you. Thank you for having me.